across the globe. Oil prices jumped over 4% as OPEC and its allied nations agreed to reduce the output. The idea was to drain global fuel inventories and support the market. OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, and its allies led by Russia agreed to slash production by a combined 1.2 million barrels per day starting 2019. The move was taken despite Trump's calls to keep the output high. The governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, has urged its residents to get ready for an approaching winter storm. According to United States National Weather Service, parts of North Carolina are expected to face a major winter storm during the weekend and into the next week. Forecasters said that the storm is moving across the southwest and brings a high likelihood of wintry precipitation. The storm is expected to heavily impact central North Carolina. According to the Weather Service, travel will be hazardous, especially on Sunday. There are also threats of power outages. Central American migrants who traveled in caravans to the U.S. border are now looking for work in Mexico's Tijuana. While several plan to seek asylum in the U.S., the others have applied for work permits in Mexico. In fact, many migrants have already received the approval of the Mexican authorities to work in their cities. Some 6,000 migrants made their way to the U.S. border last month. Mexican authorities have encouraged all of them to regularize their status in Mexico and seek work. United Kingdom's Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn said he expects the government's Brexit deal to be defeated in Parliament next week. Corbyn said that the House is not ready to accept the limitations that the agreement would bring in. He added that once defeated, the government should either go back and negotiate something better or resign from its position. Corbyn said that if the government cannot get the legislation through and is found in contempt of the Parliament, then one should really ask questions about why it should remain. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov brushed off suggestions that Russia could exchange the 24 Ukrainian seamen. Lavrov said that it was too early to speak about any offers as a prisoner swap. He said that maybe Russia will talk about alleviating their condition once the court hearings were over. The Ukrainian Navy men were arrested following the confrontation in the Sea of Azov. Hundreds of Ukrainian nationalists gathered in central Kiev and staged a march to the office of the presidential administration. Their demand was that Ukraine put an end to all ties with Russia. This comes a day after the Ukrainian parliament symbolically ended a treaty of friendship and cooperation with Russia. But activists claim that the measures were not enough. Activists objected to the fact that despite the sourness in ties, Russian business were flourishing in Ukraine. The activists demanded that Ukraine put an end to all diplomatic, economic and trade ties with Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said the two countries have overcome a rift over expulsion of diplomats. Tsipras claimed that Greece was the only country in the European Union that did not agree with the intention of other countries to expel all Russian diplomats in light of the Skripal case. Greece had expelled 2 Russian diplomats in July, which resulted in Russia sending back 2 Greek diplomats. Putin, however, claimed that though Russia considers Greece's actions unfounded, the countries have turned the pages now. The leader said that the dispute is closed. U.S. prosecutors want Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou to face charges of fraud linked to the skirting of Iran sanctions. What a bail hearing in Vancouver court made clear was the fact that U.S. prosecutors want to extradite Meng. Prosecutors accused Meng of misrepresenting Huawei's relationship to a company that transacted business in Iran despite U.S. sanctions. The United States has 60 days to make a formal extradition request. This would be weighed by a Canadian judge, and it would ultimately be up to Canada's Justice Minister to decide whether or not to extradite the Huawei CFO. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has called the arrest of Huawei CFO as an arrogant step. Lavrov was speaking in Milan at a meeting for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe when he slammed the United States for Meng's arrest. The Russian Foreign Minister called the arrest a manifestation for the extraterritorial application of the US national laws. Lavrov said that the United States needs to put an end to this. Lavrov added that the position taken by the United States was based on its power-centered policy and that this stand would not be supported by even the closest allies of Washington. At least 12 people, including 6 people, were killed in an early morning shootout between police and bank robbers in Brazil's Ceará state. 5 hostages, including 2 children, died in the shootout. All the 5 dead belonged to the same family. The gang of robbers had hijacked the family's car at a nearby highway and drove it to the town in order to loot ATMs. When police interrupted the gang trying to rob ATMs at 2 bank branches, the robbers fired at the cops and a shootout followed. The gang escaped in 2 vans without taking any money. The body of a robber was found in an abandoned vehicle. Brazilian police said that a Spanish man has been taken into custody in Sao Paulo. The man, Carlos Garcia Julia, is convicted for the killing of 5 people in a Madrid trade union office back in the year 1977. The authorities at Brazil said that Julia was walking down a street in a middle-class neighborhood when he was taken into police custody. He is now being held in a federal cell in Sao Paulo. Julia told police that he was working as a Uber driver. Police claims that Julia Garcia might have been living in Brazil since 2001. Brazilian police said that Spain is expected to request the extradition of Garcia Julia. In Germany, the Christian Democrats elected Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer to replace Angela Merkel as party leader. Kramp-Karrenbauer will now succeed Merkel as Germany's chancellor. Karrenbauer is 56 years old and is a protege of Merkel. She was the continuity candidate favorite by the party elite. Kramp-Karrenbauer won the leadership with 517 of 999 votes cast by delegates. Annegret Kramp was a state premier in Saarland, where she led a 3-way coalition. She has a reputation for uniting support across the conservative Christian Democratic Union. Former FBI Director James Comey testified before the U.S. lawmakers for the first time in over a year. The House of Republicans quizzed James Comey behind closed doors. The lawmakers said they weren't satisfied with Comey's response and indicated that Comey would be questioned later this month again. The former FBI Director, too, did not appear too pleased. He said, and I quote, "We're talking about Hillary's emails, for heaven's sake, so I am not sure we needed to do this at all." Comey added that the transcript of the 6-hour-long interview would bore everyone. Comey, however, has given his nod to second round of questioning. A police car chase in rural Oklahoma ended in a wild crash. The vehicle in pursuit became airborne and slammed into a large electrical pole. Local media showed helicopter footage in which all 3 occupants of the car were pulled out alive by the police. The driver of the car appeared to be injured. Local reports said that police had attempted to pull over the vehicle around 10:30 a.m. local time, but the driver refused to stop. The cops then pursued the car in a chase across neighboring towns at a speed of almost 100 miles per hour.
Yeah, no, we don't. They're going back. Oh gosh, you see Bill out of there. Now we're going eastbound. OHP is definitely trying to end this. Spun him. There he's in the air, and it looks like he hit a power line.
Archaeologists in Peru have uncovered over 30 ritual tombs from the El Chorro archaeological site. Experts believe the tombs could date back to 800 CE. The remains at the tombs were found with ceramic pieces. Some of the bodies were found without feet, indicating that a ritual must have been performed on the bodies. Sacrifice was commonplace in Peru's pre-Hispanic. The tombs were found in an area of the ruins which was used for commemorative banquets to the dead. Experts believe there are more remains to be found. These excavations at El Chorro started 2 months ago. Hundreds of pilgrims gathered in Vatican City's St. Peter's Square to witness the annual lighting of the Vatican Christmas tree. The fir tree is 69 feet high with a diameter of 50 centimeters. The Christmas tree was brought from Consiglio Forest in North Italy. It was donated by the Friuli Venezia Giulia region and the Diocese of Concordia Pordenone during the Christmas tree lighting event. The Vatican's nativity scene was also revealed to the public. This year, the nativity scene is made from 700 tons of sand. The sand was brought from a town near Venice called Jesolo.